Hey, what's up, internet? I am Chris. I'm a maker of loud noises here in Central Texas, and I wanted to share with you just this DIY project I've been working on for a while. Finally, just taking the time to send it out there because I think someone else might be able to use it. So let me show you what I've come up with first, and show you what it does, and then I'm going to take time to show you what I did, how I built it. So if you want to build it yourself, you can. So here's what this thing looks like. So here is the mystery box. I call this the Paddington 3000, and I'll tell you why in a second. Got some Boss pedals going on here, this little box kit, and some wires coming out. So I'm using my right foot, kick drum, left foot, snare, but my hands and my face is freed up to sing, to play. Hopefully I can play it decently. I'll show you kind of a little taste of this. So you can do stuff like this. Yeah, what's fun about it is it's live, so it's not a track, you don't have to be locked in if you can just learn to use all your limbs at the same time. So let me walk you through how I built this thing and how you could build it as well. So this guy back behind me is where I got the inspiration. This is the original real deal Paddington. You can see him inside of the kick drum. Let's start with real life. This is acoustic. This is super fun. This is probably the coolest thing I own. I'll make a whole other video on this maybe someday. But I first saw something like this with Shaky Graves, an artist from Austin, I believe, playing in like a bowling alley. And he had something like this. He had the suitcase drum, and he had a tambourine off to the side, and he was kicking on those things. But let me show you a little closer what's going on here, just so you can kind of get the history. So here we are looking a little closer. This thing, I love this thing. This is all customized. This was made by one of our drummers here at our church, and so what you have happening is just a kick head built into with a sort of a short shell built into this thing, and I've got these fold up collapsible pedals, and I've got my tambourine just attached by this Yankee hook here. I put a eraser to kind of simulate the sound, but yeah, that's a little tricky to get it to sound good. He even put these little kickstand guys on the back, so I love this thing. Now the reason I wanted to invent the Paddington 3000, this is the original guy. Well, first of all, I learned a lot from this, let me say that. Kick drums on this side, tambourines on this side. The reason is I actually play it backwards, so my feet go like this so that I can play. So like for a drummer, that's still your kick foot, your right foot, and the left foot is your snare or hat control, I guess. I'm not a drummer, I'm a guitarist, but I realized pretty quickly I can't play like this because you get exhausted really fast. And so Shaky Graves was doing this as well, and if the reason is you can stay on your toes and you won't get tired, you can rest your weight even a little bit on the back, and you're free to play. So that was one thing I learned, but then what I realized was I had to keep miking this thing, I had to EQ it. I was trying to make this little shallow shell sound like a big kick drum, and this tambourine, it doesn't really sound amazing. I mean, it's still fun. I love it. And what's great is people can see what I'm doing. But now let me show you. So I was chasing down how to make this digitally with good sound. And so let me show you what I've come up with. So before I dive into this guy, I just want to say, what was I aiming for? I wanted a kick and a snare. I wanted it as cheap as I possibly could, and I wanted to reuse stuff that I already had. So the place I started was, well, I know there's a thing called GarageBand on iOS, and it actually has really good drum sounds. So that was where I began. The latency is basically not an issue anymore at this stage of smartphones. So that's where I started. Let me pull up in the shell here. What you can see is the brain of this whole thing. I bought an iPhone SE for it was cracked, obviously. I just put a screen protector on it. So I bought this thing for, I think, $40. And that's actually where the sounds are coming from. So you can even choose different kits, different sounding kits, more rock, more folk, funky stuff. And that's amazing. So that's the brain that I needed. But I needed to trigger this with my foot. So I started looking around, and basically one of the cheapest and most readily available pieces of hardware is our piano sustain pedals. So that's actually what this thing is. It's a Boss FS6. And so these are just two piano sustain pedals. And I was like, well, I could use that. What's coming out of here is actually it's a stereo plug. So you can either go one per or send them both out stereo. And this is battery powered. It just has a 9-volt inside of it. But how do you get, I found out this is sending out an analog signal, and it's an analog MIDI signal, which is really weird because MIDI is a digital protocol, but I don't know exactly how all that works. I just made it happen. So analog signal out using the stereo cable. But what makes the connection is what I'm really excited about. So a company named Audiofront makes this thing called MIDI Expression, and it's called the MIDI Expression Quattro, and that's what's happening underneath this thing. First of all, I'll get to the next part later. This little guy is the MIDI Expression Quattro, and it comes with an app. Well, let me say how you get it to talk first. So again, this is a TRS cable, and you can see that I've split them back out with this is the other end of that cable going into my these two inputs, which I've labeled kick and snare because I made them do what I want them to do. You can make these pedals do pretty much anything you want on a computer or on a phone. And so but the next step was, how do you get this? This is USB. How do you plug USB into a phone? Well, there's a thing called a camera kit, I believe is what it's called. And it has a camera USB input, but you can plug anything USB in. So that's how I'm coming in. I'm also powering my little iPhone SE off of this, and I'm going out. So that's my audio out to like a sound system or whatever I'm gonna plug into an amp or something like that. So finally, this thing at least is wired through to this. This is wired to here USB through the camera kit. But then how do you make it play the right thing? That's the last step in the process. So hopefully you guys are tracking. You can comment with questions if you have any. So let me come out. So I've got two apps that I need running on this iPhone SE. The first one is MIDI Expression, which is from Audiofront. And so when I push one of these pedals, let me see if I can get this to lay flat. Come on now. So when I push one of these pedals, it is triggering that first slot. So you can see I've got my 4 slots across the top, and I choose what kind of pedal it is. There's a bunch of settings here. It says channel 1. This is saying what, but then this is the magic right here. You say what note to play and how hard to play it. So my first one is C1 and my snare is D1. So you can see I'm hitting the first one, hitting the second one. And the way to decode that is there's actually default mappings. Let me just throw you on my computer here so you can see standard drum map. I can link this in the comments if you all want this. So C1 down there is acoustic bass drum. Actually B, I guess. Bass drum 1 is the C1. And then snare would be D1 right there. So you can see that. So I was able to take those and I just set up this to be a kick, D1. Is that C1 or D1? Whichever one. I guess this is C1, this is D1. And then I also found what would be most helpful beyond that. Clap is really nice if I'm playing more of an acoustic set without bass or electric. And then open hat is really fun because, like here, I can show you that. If I can get it out with one hand. Okay, so I've got it in open hat now. And if I go back to GarageBand, so when you plug it in, you have to open that app, and it detects that you've got a MIDI Expression pedal connected. Now I go back to GarageBand, and now I'm playing the kit again, but here's open hat since I'm plugged into that one. And you can actually string you could get like normal looking sustain pedals and have all kinds of stuff under your feet if you wanted to. I'm keeping it simple for now. I've done 3. But you can do combinations, so I could do kick and open hat is nice. This is a little less feisty than a like crash cymbal or something, but you can do. So you can have one of these under one foot and be doing your dance. But the possibilities are pretty wide open. I can show you the clap too. There, got clap plugged in. So that's kind of nice. And like I said, you can change drum kits. So I think I've done like an 808 deal. Let's see if I can remember how to do that. You've got all these kits just come with GarageBand. Oh, here we go. If you go under electronic, this crate digger is kind of cool. I don't know what the clap sound's gonna be. Oh, that's really feisty. Cool. So that's really cool. Let's see what else we got underneath here. Deep Tech, I think, was cool. Oops, I think I missed it. Oh no, did get it. Okay. That's cool. I think there's more like traditional like 808 sounds somewhere. Probably hip hop, big room. Modern 808, here you go. So it's cool. I think it's this interesting land between tracks and live performance, and hopefully, yeah, someone else can make this, build this thing, and make cooler stuff than I did. But at least I wanted to show you what I did. So shoot me some comments if you're interested, or if you like it, or especially if you build one. I'd love to see your build. Oh, the last thing was this. This I just got off of Amazon. I forget what it was called. It was like a project box or something. It may have had something to do with electrical. But the final deal, I was kind of playing around with you guys and keeping it a secret. But really my final way of looking at it would be like this. Let me show you. So yeah, this would actually be the end product, where that's why I had this hole cut here. So I can put up the charging and the input and the output all there. And I actually really just have one power cable coming out and one audio, but I'm sending this to my studio monitors instead. So that's why there's a third. That's just for this video. So, but yeah, the end result is just this guy, one cord, power cord coming out and an audio cord coming out. And then you got foot control. All right, guys, have a good one.